Welcome everyone to a new gameplay series on Rule the Waves. In this series we will be playing as Japan, which is what I long promised I would do. Let's talk about Japan's kind of starting point versus other people, other nations. We're going to have a couple advantages actually. One, we will be away from everyone else, just geographical advantage. This is an advantage that the United States shares. It may also end up being a disadvantage in that the United States is probably one of our main... I think the United States is the most natural end-game enemy for Japan, not just for historical reasons, but because the United States does end up having, at the very end of the game, the highest budget. And I plan on taking this one into the 1930s, so by that time, they don't have turret flash fires, so their ships are... There's no inherent weakness that the British have, these hidden flaws. So that's one of the advantages, geographical. They also have the very nice torpedo technology, and they have this surprise attack, which means that to kind of represent the torpedo boat incursion that they made at the start of the Russo-Japanese War, we get a surprise attack where we can send it's our whole fleet, but mainly the destroyers are the lead element, and they can go torpedo the standing still ships that are just laying at anchor in the bay, wherever it is. So it's a nice free attack that we get, but it only happens for the first month that we go to war with an enemy, a nation, and I think it might not even be that effective because most of the time there's very few enemy ships in Northeast Asia where our ships are. So it's something to consider. It's probably more interesting when you play against Japan that also still happens against you. Torpedoes are going to be very good for us though. We will be focusing on them. That's our research advantage. We should be able to get double torpedo mounts pretty quickly. Then, any other advantages? Well, probably, but I'll just have to mention them when I get to them. Disadvantages are pretty numerous. We're going to start with only 10-inch guns. That's the lowest gun, the lowest research gun size out of anybody. We also have the smallest dock, 10,000. And we have undeveloped shipbuilding industry, which is going to further impede the increase of our dock size. It basically means that there is no private industry to support our dock size growth. That most of the time the dock size will only increase by us building it manually. Whereas if you have Great Britain, if you have the United States, these other nations have a lot of contribution to their dock size from the private industry, which just means that you don't have to build it yourself. You get bonuses as it is, just from events, basically. Okay, other disadvantages, very small budget. The smallest out of anybody that we'll be playing with. And I will be doing historical naval budget just to make sure that we exacerbate that situation even further. I think that's all the disadvantages. So what we're going to be doing for this playthrough, I'm going to still do very large. I was contemplating doing only large just because the fleet battles would be a little bit less intense, but just because Japan has such a small resource base, we won't be able to build that big of fleets anyway. So it makes sense that we can just do very large fleets, because that way I'll have more ships, and more ships is, well, at least in principle, it's more fun. It's also going to mean that we're going to have terrifying numbers of enemy ships for the British and for the United States. I will, as always, manually build my legacy fleet. And there's two new things here that I haven't played with before, the research rate and varied technologies. I'm going to drop down research rate to 90. It might even be better to drop it down to 80, but I'm going to just leave it at 90. Basically, I'm going to slow down the research rate, which is just going to allow me to prolong the game, which I've already done. I'll always go into the 1930s anyway, right? I mean, typically. And I don't think this playthrough will be any different. The reason why I'm not dropping this down much lower is because I kind of like getting to the end game state, but I'm dropping it down this much so that we're still researching stuff towards the late 1920s. So, if we just do the math on this, if 100% research rate should be finished around 1925, or just, well, where you're supposed to be at 1925, Well, now we should be at that same place at 1928. So it just extends it a little bit, and that's why I was thinking of even doing 80%, because that would make it around 1930 that we'd be finishing. But that's fine, we'll just slow it down a bit. Now, I was very seriously considering doing varied technologies, but I'm deciding not to in the end. What this does is essentially randomize some of the benefits that you get from various technologies. Like, we at this point kind of understand, yeah, in general, 3 turrets is better than 2. But this makes it so that maybe in a fictitious world, back in the early 1900s, they weren't sure about that. A lot of people were still building double turrets because, there's advantages and disadvantages for both, but in the end, in the real world, triple turrets are perceived as better, or were back in the time. And double turrets, just, you can get more firepower out with 3 than 2. So we did 3. Well, what if it didn't work that way? What if for some reason triple turrets had some negative, unforeseeable? The thing is, they weren't able to foresee exactly the advantages of triple turrets. They weren't sure that they'd be worthwhile. So to kind of add in that fog of war, they have this varied technologies option that they've added, which just kind of scrambles the bonuses of various things. And I'm just picking on double turret versus triple turret as an example, but maybe 18-inch guns are really horrible. And we just always perceive larger as better, but maybe 18-inch guns are just terrible. Now, the reason why I'm not choosing this is because I don't think the game has a good enough feedback mechanism to allow you to even suss out what are the, I don't think you'd get a really good feel for what, how the change in technology is impacting you. Because there's not a very good feedback from battles. All you have is like landing hits or whatever, or just your raw performance. But I'm imagining that the double turrets or triple turrets, in the real world, you'd have the gunnery, the people in charge of gunnery, being able to report back, okay, this is working like this. They'd be giving you, this is how many shells we were firing over this much time. You just have access to so much more, so many more resources to get a report that we don't have access to. So basically, just because of lack of good feedback mechanisms, I'm not going to choose this, even though I at least originally was planning to. So that's it. We will make our name TorTogo. Togo, a famous admiral for the Russo-Japanese War. A big success for Japan. That's kind of what brought them into the world view that, these guys actually are serious business. So let me extend this, and then we'll start building our starting fleet, our legacy fleet, which is not our... Technically, we shouldn't be building it right now. This is what the fleet had been built over the course of many years, and this is just what we start with. So as always, I will start with a battleship, and since our dock size is so small, we will be going to Great Britain for this design. I also think that Rodney, we're not going to have a British name despite its construction origin. I think the Mikasa would be a wonderful name because this is the famous pre-Dreadnought battleship that fought in the Russo-Japanese War. I think it had 2 12-inch guns and 12 6-inch guns secondaries. I'm actually probably going to end up increasing this, but just as an aside, historical aside. I want to go for 19. We might as well at least set this to max, and then if I can make it a little bit less expensive, we really have to focus on less expensive because, again, Japan has the worst budget in the world. Well, at least in the world of the players in the game. We still have a better budget than China, but we don't fight China in this, so it doesn't matter. For this battleship, because we don't have, our 2 naval holdings, I don't know, I guess I can show you on the map after I'm done designing this, are just Northeast Asia and Southeast Asia. So we don't really need the ability for our battleships to go anywhere else. We can just park them in our home waters and they should be fine. So I plan on taking advantage of that by using short-range ships quite frequently, which will make up for our disadvantage in terms of displacement. Now, right now we're fine with displacement because we're building at Great Britain, but once the game actually starts, I will try to avoid any of those situations such as the poor Turkish government or navy suffered from when, at the advent of World War I, Great Britain decided to confiscate the dreadnoughts that they were building for Turkey. So we'll avoid any of those situations. Basically what I'm trying to say is we will always build our ships at local docks. I don't plan on ever building them in Great Britain. Because I think it's although I'm going to model it or role play it as the pride of the Japanese, that we want to build these at our own docks. So let's get back to the designing of this. Belt of 9 is fine. I think 3.5 is fine for that. If we can get deck of 2 and 2.5 and 2, I prefer this because this means that the ship will be a little bit more relevant later in the game. Certainly only belt is going to be in use, at least. I don't know if that's the right word, but the enemy shells are only likely to hit our belt for the first 10 years of the game. But I don't think we can afford a massive belt. And I think that more importantly, if we want this ship to have any longevity, we need deck. So that's where the shells will be falling eventually. Although I kind of I'm almost disagreeing with myself immediately. Maybe, okay, let's just leave it. Get turret should at least match belt, although the pre-dreadnought battleships don't have as much problem with turret flash fires, just because I don't think penetration of armor is as big of a thing in the very beginning of the game. Turret top, we'll leave that at 3, and then secondaries will take this down to my typical 2, which means that we can increase this quite a bit. And this is another thing that, in order to add to the longevity, I'll take away the tertiaries. In order to add to the longevity, I like to have these secondary guns, which means that it'll still be a very good, like, auxiliary battleship. I don't know if that's really a term that you should use. Those two words together probably aren't usually put together, but yeah, we can have an auxiliary battleship just by having it be a cruiser killer. So it's basically going to be like a very, very slow armored cruiser. Yeah, if we have a lot of secondary guns. It can just provide supporting fire, basically. So let's get this up quite a bit, since 12-inch guns fire pretty... Well, at the very start, they'll fire pretty slow, so probably 120 is just fine. And what we're seeing here is we have a lot of space left over. I can go up to 10 for my belt. I always like a strong conning tower. That's a Tortuga legacy. I think that, okay, 11's fine. And let's not go any higher on anything else. Let's actually just start dropping this down in cost, because I do want to make these as cheap as possible. Okay, so 15,600. What's the difference here? 53.5, 53 flat. So 500,000 savings is pretty minor, but I think it's gonna do for now. Okay, so 15.3 flat. I think this is everything I want. People are probably gonna ask questions why I'm putting so many torpedoes on. If we get into a close engagement, first of all, in the first like 5, 6, 7 years of the game, if you go to war, you'll notice that even with your battleships lining up, going broadside to broadside, rarely does a battleship sink. However, a battleship sinks very quickly with a torpedo. So that's why I'm going to keep these on, because if we have a very poor weather engagement, and we end up with our battleships very close to theirs, the torpedoes are going to be far more dangerous than our guns. The main thing we have to hope for in the very beginning of the game is just lighting them on fire. It's very hard to kill these ships in the very beginning of the game. Essentially, armor is on top. But as the game progresses, guns become more powerful at a much faster rate than armor develops. So later in the game, armor almost doesn't even matter. And I don't know if that's a failing of the game or just a representation of history, but I'll leave that to the experts to debate. So good, this is our first ship, the Mikasa, and I hope she is able to perform, as well as her namesake, her real-world namesake. Now, generally, I would build a second battleship here, which would be one we could build at the home yards. But with only 10,000 tons, like just something specific to Japan, I'm going to probably forego this. I don't see any reason to build such a terrible battleship. So instead, I'm just going to buy a lot more of these, and I'll just make a completely new design battleship in maybe 5 years or so. That'll be probably very similar to what Historical Gamer, if you remember from the Succession series, and you probably should, it wasn't too long ago, or if you've never watched, I guess I'm presuming a lot of things, sorry about that. In the Succession series, Historical Gamer made a semi-dreadnought battleship, which he gave to me, and I think that we could stand to do something like that in 5 years or so. But we'll be using the Mikasa class, and although I think in the real world the Mikasa was a standalone for her class, the only one of her kind, we are probably going to build a few more. But before I build, before I know how many of these I can build, we probably have to get all the rest of the designs out. I am probably going to focus a lot on armored cruisers because with the short-range battleships, our force projection is going to come through, well, it's going to come a lot through light cruisers, but before we get to that, it can also come through armored cruisers. So these will be out chasing other light cruisers, heavy cruisers, armored cruisers, whatever. And I think what we'll do, this is interesting. We can actually build double turrets. Let me bring this back down to 6. Can we build double turret? Why would we want to do this though? Yeah, I don't understand this. We want at least 9 inches, otherwise we'll get this rate of fire penalty. Okay, we can't build... yeah, we can't build designs of this displacement. That's what it was complaining about. But otherwise, is this okay? Yeah, it's overweight, I understand, but just pretend that this was something we could do. 2, 1... Good God, that's a large conning tower, even by my standards. Top 2.5, this is better. Interesting. Just take that down a bunch. Okay, now this is something we could do. Wow. Can we do this at 9? We could. That is a lot of 9-inch guns. I mean, this is our first decision here, is whether or not we should be doing side 9... Wait. Why did they say 0 guns per turret? What? What in God's name? Oh, is it a casemate? Well, I'm going to clear these turrets. I think those are casemate, and I'm not going to build my ship that way. We'll stick with the double turrets, mains, and then 6-inch secondaries. I think this is just the standard way I do these things. Probably we can't get that many. Let's try this. 1,000. I want a speed of 22. Ooh, what's that? We're already fighting the size. Probably have to drop down some things. My beloved conning tower. Everything else is okay. Okay, we need to get a little bit of weight back. Yikes. Well, we can do that with ammo, I guess. I don't know. That doesn't make sense. Can't do that with ammo. I guess we'll bring the turret tops down to only 2. I'm very reluctant to do that, but I don't see any other way. The turret top shouldn't be hit, at least in the beginning part of the game. Yeah, I think we'll just leave it like this. And how much? No, we'll probably have to do this then. I feel like there's something I'm missing here. Should we only make the speed 21? Wow, that gives us 400 back. I think we're going to do that. Let's make this more of a brawler, which means that, yes, we'll be slightly weaker. Slower, not weaker. Stronger. Yeah, I'd much rather have more of these guns. Absolutely. Can we get even one more? Oh, I'm liking this now. I am much, much happier. Can we do this? We can. That's fantastic. We'll even drop this down by 1. Okay, so 145 for the 9-inch guns. That's the problem with the 9-inch guns is that it's weird. They are actually lower max range, 10.0 or 10.1 rounding up, versus I think this is 10.1 rounding down. Nope, 10.2 rounding up. So it's weird that they are not as long range as the 8-inch guns. So you would make a good argument that the 8-inch guns would be better, but the 8-inch guns suffer that rate of fire penalty we already saw. So 9-inch guns it is. the Asama class armored cruiser. We'll probably get quite a few of these because this will be, as I said, the force projection. And I would have liked... God, did I put... I think I made a mistake. Let's save this. This is fine. Build one. I think I made a mistake with this. Did I get... I did put 4 torpedoes. I didn't mean for that to happen. I actually only meant to put 2 torpedoes on here, but it's fine. What we can do is delete one of the sets of torpedoes when we need to upgrade our fire control. So that's actually okay for now. As like a placeholder for the better fire control, we'll leave the second set of torpedoes. Because we don't need those. I only wanted one set, mainly to either get lucky in poor weather, or it's also very useful if you can bring a battleship to a stop. Then you can go in and 1 torpedo should be enough to finish it off this early in the game. Okay, so we have 2 ship designs down, a few more to go. Light cruisers. I want 2 light cruisers. Let's build my fleet light cruiser first. And this one I want to be impressive. What if we just do this? All right, how many is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a 7 6-inch broadside, which I'm very happy about. This is going to be our initial fleet light cruiser, which means that I'm not going to make this with secondaries. I was thinking about maybe 4-inch ones, but no. This is just going to have these, a lot of the turrets per side. We're just going to make turret armor very expensive, but that's okay. We won't have secondaries to save a little bit of weight. 2.5. I'm not sure if I can get 2.5 on this thing. Probably. I was expecting this to be around 6,000. How are we doing? Oh, okay, so it's possible, but I wanted 22 for my speed. Normal, no medium. That's fine. Good. Everything is looking good here, but we'll have to raise it a little bit to get that speed that we want. And this ammo allotment is not sufficient, but how much more is it? Okay, it doesn't. Wait, did I see this correctly? 2345. Weird. The cost goes down when the displacement goes up. But it's not true. Wow, that's a freak little... I'm sure it's some kind of min-max thing that our engine hits some plateau or whatever. I don't know. But whatever the reason, 6,300 appears to be a very good weight because we get a little bit of tonnage, a little bit of money back for doing it, which is weird, but that's fine. So we have all of our 7 6-inch guns on one side. This is going to be a behemoth, a real very good, what am I trying to say? A real fighter of a light cruiser. The only disadvantage that we have with this is that the armor scheme will be protected cruiser. But this is a real fighter. And why not even just make the conning tower a little bit better? That's just putting TorTogo, I should be saying not Tortuga, but TorTogo's stamp on the fleet. So, no complaints. I don't think I missed anything. Yeah, and we don't have any weight remaining for central rangefinder, but we'll drop the rounds per gun when we get better fire control. 170 is how many shells I'd like per gun, but probably not as many. It's probably more than we need. Oh, this only has 1 fire control position. Well, that's kind of silly. There, that's fine. We fixed that pretty easily. Let's go down to 4.5 again, just so I can get 160, 170. We'll do 165. We'll leave a little bit of floating weight. And that's it. Very good. So we'll save this design. The Azumi. Get the namesake. Okay, then the next one is going to be this is the really fun one I've been thinking a lot about. I want a raiding light cruiser. And I've been looking more into the status of raiders and even like which ships you should choose. Armored cruisers or light cruisers, battle cruisers. What is the advantage of having a particular ship type as a raider? Let's see. think that's what I want. Center. Now let's do this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. 5-inch guns. Maybe 4-inch guns. Get extreme. 22. Reliable. And this has got to be very low. Very low. Good, good, good. Okay, so what I've kind of already played around here with is a very silly design. Even having 5 4-inch guns appears like per side, I should say, of like this is a total of, what do we have here? 7? No, 8. We have a total of 8 4-inch guns, which is very small, very, very, very light. And I think we'll clear the torpedo as well. How much does this? Yeah, it does 60, so yeah, okay, it's probably worth clearing it. What I want out of this light cruiser is just rating. In fact, we really don't need this much ammo even. And I want to cut the cost down to almost nothing, and I want to spam these all over. Now, what I've read and what I've kind of looked into about having these raiders is every raider is equally likely to be, like every type, light cruisers, armored cruisers, battle cruisers, whatever, is equally likely to be interned or scuttled while they're on raider operations. So it's dangerous, basically, to be a raider. So given all other things equal, we'd rather not have a battle cruiser or an armored cruiser scuttled. We'd rather have light cruisers. And I think that light cruisers are as effective as any other ship under raiding operations, which means that only light cruisers should be raiding, if we think about it that way. By the way, I really want to get rid of this one little superstructure thing. It's not the line, is it? Just gonna guess. Good, got rid of it. That's better. Okay, so light cruisers are the best to do for raiding. Now, the things which help you in raiding are range and reliability both. I think for different reasons. I think that the range dictates when you might have to go back or when you start suffering that little star, which means that you should refit. That's due to range. But reliability is, I think, influences scuttling or being interned in port type decisions or events. So we want both of these things, and this is just going to be an extremely good raider. And I didn't look up what a good raider name would be, but we'll do the Chiyoda. And this will be my, oh god, that's not what I want. Actually, I have to go much. So even this bare bones 4-inch gun ship is going to be 4,400 tons. But we've made it rather cheap, only 15.5 million. We'll look at the Azumi right after this to see how much that one cost. But I'm guessing probably around 24 million. So it'll be much cheaper. And I want to do this because then we can just spam these and send them all over. And even if we lose 1 or 2, it just doesn't matter. That's my hope. That's the goal. By the way, we don't need this much ammo, but for 4-inch guns, the ammo doesn't weigh anything anyway. So we really can't do one lower, can we? No. No, that would be impossible. Okay, so yeah, I think this is fine then. Extreme, reliable. We'll just test this out. I've never done this before, so we'll just give it a go. I was even thinking we could probably do 21 speed, but let's make it at least enough speed to get away in the beginning of the game. This thing will be chopped liver as soon as 1910 comes along. Alright, so if everything's okay, then we'll save this one and build it. 15.5, 15.6 if we want to be specific, versus 23.8. Yeah, it's significantly cheaper. You can get, let's see, almost get 3 Chiyodas for the price of 2 Azumis. Okay, get one of those. We'll do a destroyer as well, although we all know I don't. I don't usually build destroyers. In the beginning of the game, at least. So, okay, 3-inch gun's fine. I want to clear the secondaries. Let's do and V. Whoops. Wait a second. I've done this wrong. FG. There we go. All right, good. So it has 3 torpedoes, only 2 per side, but that still gives us a third torpedo on the other side if we launched all the other ones. This is going to be just all about speed. I don't think... We could make this short range. I think we will. For an extra knot? Sure. Because again, these will just stay with our battleships, so they don't need to protect anybody else. Not cramped. Well, that's unfortunate. Huh. I mean, there's just no way we can get... Well, can I make this 4-inch guns then? Almost. Okay, yeah. If I want to go with only 140 rounds per gun. That's probably worth it. What's the difference in price? We want to keep things cheap. Japan, we have to constantly remember, has no budget to speak of. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't impact it enough. So I think we'll do this. And we'll just keep it right on the edge then. 140. Okay, well, good enough. Do I want 3-inch guns? No, 4-inch guns are better. Definitely better. Alright, we'll just do this and we'll keep very low rounds per gun. They should be pretty much not in firing range for most of the time, so that means they won't be firing guns very often. That'll be my rationale. Okay, so the Akazi. Oh, crowded. Wait, why are we crowded? 1, 2, we only have 3. Interesting. So if it's a 3-inch gun, it doesn't count towards centerline crowding? Does that mean that I can add another mount? Huh. I don't know how this works exactly. Oh, okay, I see. FG. Is it the, yeah. Huh, well, I don't know. We can't do this one then because it'll reduce our rate of fire. Not that rate of fire is like massively important, but we'll just do the 3-inch guns. It's a little cheaper. We'll add some more ammo, whatever. There, just like this. Local. We really can't get another speed. No, definitely not. Okay, fine. Let's not overthink it. The destroyers won't be in much use in the beginning of the game anyway. And then last but not least, it wouldn't be a TorTogo playthrough if we didn't mass produce tons of minesweepers of my special design, whoops, which is the 200-ton, 17-knot, 1 belt, 1 turret and turret top. Silly little thing which can actually take on enemy destroyers because it has armor. This goes to 215, 00, normal, and how we doing? We have 6 weight remaining, which is just fine. We'll leave it there because there's nothing else we'd want to do. Wait, no, yeah, there's nothing else we can do with that. So there it is, the Tatuta Maru, Asama Maru. I like that better. And we'll just get one of those for now. Now, the trick is, how much money do we want to leave? 24 million. So we want to get as close to 24 million so we can build as many ships at half price, which is the next building set. Oh, God. What's going on here? We'll have to fix that later, I guess. Oh, we also want to build the dock size up. This is going to be important. So now we're down to 72 million. We need 24, which means that, if I can do the math, which I can't, 48 million is what we need to spend on some ships. Well, let's see. 48 is too much. Although we do want to build these. I guess I can start the game with a few of these being built at the British docks. I'm not happy about that because I don't want any of them. I just don't like relying on anybody else, but I guess it's okay. Then what will we do? This is, I said we wanted 48, and this is going to make it 48 almost exactly with 2 of these. And then we can just build a few minesweepers. Okay? I think I'm doing this math correctly. Yeah. So we just build, what, 2 minesweepers and then we're good? And there it is. Just below 24 million, which is what we want to take into the next session. Who do we want going where? We need foreign tonnage. I guess the foreign tonnage that they're talking about here, tonnage on foreign stations, is just Southeast Asia. So let's put the Osama there. And that should satisfy those things. We can also put our raiders there, which is the Chiyoda. So we'll move that one there as well. Yeah, because I don't think Japan has any holdings beside those two places. We can see here. Just take a look real fast. The only two places we need anything are in the two places where we have anything, which is just Northeast Asia, Southeast Asia. There it is. All right, so let's move into the next phase. Now we can start building some ships which are under construction at the start of the game. And these have the advantage of being half-priced. So we want to build a lot of ships here. That's why we wanted to leave as much of the funds available as possible. So although I don't like building stuff at foreign places, at least there's only going to be, what is it? It's only half the amount of time remaining, so that's probably going to be like 15 months, a year. I very much doubt we'll be going to war within the first year. And I doubt even more that the first person we go to war with will be Great Britain. Although, I have been wrong from time to time. With only 4 million monthly balance, we probably can't build that many of these, and this is always going to be the plaguing issue. But since monthly balance can be paused, we'll be pausing every other ship we build will be paused. But we want to be able to keep these going for as long as possible. Yeah, 13, 16, 14. Pretty expensive at 2 million per. We still want to get as many other ships going as possible because we are getting them at half price. So it behooves us to build as many of these and then just pause their construction. So let's get some Azumis. How many do we have so far? We have 3 Azumis. How many do we want in our fleet? Let's get a total of 6. That seems okay to me. Yeah, let's get a total of 6. Let's get a whole bunch of the Chiyoda classes. Let's get one sister ship for the Osama first, and then we'll just get everything else we can. And those will all be the Chiyoda class. Actually, we need some more minesweepers as well, but those are really cheap. We can just build those after the construction phase has finished, even though they won't be half-priced. But a half-price ship, which is really, really cheap, is just half as cheap, so it doesn't really... Okay, mathematically, I want to disagree with myself. Let's have an argument. I'm going to have an argument with myself while recording. Mathematically, it doesn't mean a difference which ship you divide by half. It's equally beneficial. But, yeah, because you're going to try to spend as much of your funds as possible, and it doesn't matter if you spent 300 minesweepers and got half them, half the price, or you spent 10 battleships. It's coming out to half price either way. So, that said, let's get those minesweepers. I didn't get the Chiyoda class yet, though, so let's get those. I want a lot of these, just to test them out. How's it? 8. Good. We still have some money left over. This is a very full construction menu. Let's get these minesweepers. They will never go bad. It's probably never the wrong decision to get these minesweepers. Okay, they are extremely cheap. Okay, I don't know. I might have actually overdone it. 30, yeah, okay, that's more than I need. So we'll just put everything on hold now, and we'll call it here. So I don't need to actually build all of these right now. We'll just put them on hold. I want everything on hold except for my battleships, and I think we'll even have to put one of these on hold, the one that's furthest away. Halt. And that is going to bring us to the conclusion of this very first video. So after this video, after this episode, the start of the next episode, I'm going to be doing the research stuff and then actually getting going. But let me actually continue. I think that's all we want to do. Good, so the game has begun. And with that said, I guess we'll bring this first episode to a close. If you wouldn't mind, because this is the first video in the series, leaving a thumbs up or pressing the like button just to help with the search results on YouTube, I would greatly appreciate that. And I won't ask it again after the first episode. Otherwise, if you want to have your name on one of the ships, so if you'd like to captain one of the ships I like to pretend, go ahead and leave your suggestion for a ship name in the comments section below. However, I do want to emphasize that The more immersion-breaking names will probably be filtered out, or I'll just like Google Translate them into Japanese. They don't have to be Japanese. I mean, that's kind of like added bonus points to people who submit names in Japanese, because I like to keep the role-playing or the lore of the series up. But even like a good name in English is perfectly acceptable, like Courageous or something. So, that all said, we can finally wrap up episode number 1. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you back for episode number 2. And until then, take care.